All right, for you Philadelphia Eagles fans out there, I'm repping the Eagles today. This has become like my favorite shirt. For people that have seen me wear it over the last few days, like I have washed the shirt, but I love this shirt. I got my little bird, a new bird's hat. I've had a few of them, but the other ones were kind of old. So go Eagles, great win. For all the other fans out there, Dallas Cowboys, and y'all got to win just barely. Giants, y'all still winning, but you're just not the team. And the rest of y'all, Washington, Carson Wentz, we got rid of him. So, so why am I starting off talking about football today? That's crazy, right? And so, but yesterday I had a wonderful opportunity that I want to share today in my LinkedIn lives and Facebook lives and the different lives that this streams to through StreamYard about a person I met. Now, some of you may not have heard of this man, but you will definitely remember his picture because that picture right there, well, right there, there, is iconic. It happened in 1968. The gentleman was here. Was one? I'm kind of figure out was Tommie Smith, and um, he is well known for when he won the 200 meters for standing against racism by with the black glove and standing, you know, with his hand in the air like that. So, hey, Maria, good to see you. Hope all is well. Thanks for joining us. Sometimes every now and then people will come through. I can't see it on StreamYard because StreamYard is streamed out, but every now and then. So if you have any comments on some of what I'm about to share, please pop it in here. And just like Maria popped in, I may show you, say hi. She said hi, and I'm saying hi. So there you go. So we can share your comments because this is a really good topic I'm about to share. There's Oscar. What's going on, Oscar? Good to see you, man. Thanks for jumping on board. And so this was a children's book that was written by Tommie Smith, but he also had probably the number one selling African American children's author, Derek Barnes, and Dawad, and I cannot pronounce his last name, one of the top up and coming illustrators in the world, help him create this book. So Tommie Smith, as you know, some of you may know, back in 1968, sort of had a plan, I guess, in advance that if he won, that he was going to stand for against racism. And so, what I didn't know, which was surprising to me, is that he had sustained a major injury the race before. So he ran that race with a pulled hamstring. That makes it even more compelling when you think about it, because I tell you, pulled hamstrings are painful, but he ran it with a pulled hamstring. So when you look at this picture, you don't realize that's an injured person standing there. And what you also don't know, this was his last race. Never raced again after that. But I'm saying this because it's one thing to know a moment in time, right? But it's another thing to know the story behind the moment in time. And I'm so glad that my 12-year-old daughter and my wife, Pam, were there with me. She invited me to this. And man, it was just incredible. But I'm sharing this because there were some lessons that I learned sitting there hearing Mr. Smith, Dr. Smith now, and the panelists share their thoughts. Another thing, matter of fact, I'll share this later because I want to connect this to something else. But let me just kind of go into some of the things that I learned by meeting Dr. Smith yesterday. One of the first thing is this: that 1 minute of time can impact the world forever. One moment in time can impact the world forever. You've heard speeches before. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. During the attacks on 9/11, where Bush stood up and said, "This will never happen again in American history." You know, those moments we'll never forget. Um, because the reality is they're iconic moments. And a lot of times I think the lesson here is a lot of times people think it's the big things that are memorable and change the world. Sometimes it's absolutely the opposite. It's the small things. It's the decisions that people make to decide that in this moment, I'm going to do something not for history's sake. I just want to make a statement. And that's one thing he was talking about last night. He didn't know when he stood up there and put his hand up in the air like that, that we'll be talking about this 56 years later, or that people all over the world will recognize that decision. He did it because, listen to this is really important because he talked about this last night. It was the right thing to do. And so there's a lesson within that. Like a lot of times out here today, we know, people know that there's some things that are the right thing to do, but they won't do it because of the fear of other people, the fear of retaliation, the fear of how you're going to be. You will be rejected by society, the fear of, and he had some real world things that happened with him. I'm going to share in a few moments, but he did it anyway. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King did what he had to do, knowing that every day his life was at threat, every day. And unfortunately, he paid the ultimate price. But he didn't let that stop him. He did it anyway because why? He knew it was right. So I think if there's a lesson in here, we got to do things because it's the right thing to do. If you know somebody or someone is doing something that's right, you got to challenge it. If you know that you're called to make a difference in a specific area, but you've been hesitating to do it, you got to get involved. If anything anybody can say about me, like me, dislike me, stories that's true and not true about me, I've always volunteered my time to help. Always. I've never looked for anything in return. I just do it because I know it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do. And so 1 minute can change the world. I mean, that position was 1 minute and 19 seconds. And 56 years later, we're still talking about it. And so the thing is, like, in your life, you got to think, what do I need to do? Like, how can I make a difference? Like, and he said that last night where he said, you know what? Because somebody asked a question about making history and doing things like that, and how people, he basically was saying that do what you're called to do. Do what you're called to do. 78 years old, still running a race, man, out here. Do what you're called to do. You're not called to do what everybody else to do. Yep. And then secondly, he talked about you are designed to make a difference in notice this is the operative word, your world, not the world, yours. And that's something to think about. You're called to make a difference in your world. See, everybody's not called to have a 1 minute and 19-second historical stand. But what can I do in my world? What can I do in my community? What can I do in my my hometown? I say with great pride. I go back to Syracuse, New York all the time just to help. I don't always looking for something in return. Yes, I'm a paid professional consultant and speaker, and there have been times for certain projects that yes, I have been compensated because they had the funds available to compensate me for certain things. But I've done a million gratis things. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. It's my hometown. I'm proud to say I'm going up there on October the 7th and being inducted into my high school's Wall of Distinction. I can't wait. If anybody's watching from Syracuse, please come to Fowler High and join us that night. We will be there, myself, my good friend Zan Dixon, Stella Green, who was part of, she's green now. And I believe back then she was, I can't remember her last, I think it's Taylor. But she married Joey Green. There's 3 people from my generation that will be there. I know that's going to be honored. But the point I'm making is this, that's my hometown. I want to make a difference there. I've been in Delaware for 20 something years, and anybody knows me in Delaware know I volunteered for a lot of things here in Delaware. Why? I want to make a difference, and so, that's not the world. That's one state. Syracuse is not the world. That's my hometown. So, we're all called to do something. It's not always just through volunteerism. It could be other things that you could do, mentoring, things like that. Addressing concerns that you may have on a variety of different topics, getting involved. Nobody has ever changed the world by being silent. I don't think about it, except for Mahatma Gandhi when he did the silent protest in India. That's about the only time I can think about it. But you got to say something. You got to do something. And then the last thing I learned by being with Dr. Smith, and again, for those of you who are coming on now, is the guy that we know this position right here. He's the one who last night I had a chance to interact with him with my wife and my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter, and that was a beautiful thing within itself. Got a chance for my daughter to take pictures with him and the author, Derek Barnes, who literally spoke to my daughter because she had the confidence to ask a question in front of all these adults about becoming an author. I'm so proud of my daughter, Abigail. Love that girl, that she had the heart, literally in that adult packed audience, to take that microphone and ask these folks a question. And this world renowned author just spoke words of life into my daughter. I'll never forget that. I got it recorded. I'll never forget it. It's amazing. But so Dr. Tommie Smith. And so the last thing I want to say about this is that he made a he said something that literally it broke my heart. He said that his mom died at 57. Because what a lot of people don't realize with this right here, he got a lot of death threats. Okay. He got a lot of death threats. And so the stress on his mother, the stress on his family, this distress, he said he feels as though that took his mom's life. I didn't know that because again, unless you sit up under a person's presence and hear their story, you don't know. And so he talked about that. And so it made me realize something that's tough, but it's the truth, you know, and that there's sometimes commitment comes with sacrifice. You know, nobody wants to lose a person close to them. Nobody want I'm sure Dr. King's family would rather have him here today. Medgar Evers' family will have here today. And, you know, all different Malcolm X family would rather have him here, you know, and I'm not saying sacrifice is always death. But what I'm saying is usually sometimes when you go against the grain, you're going to be met with resistance. You know what I mean? One thing I said, I do a lot of diversity consulting and training my team. I'm so proud of the people that I got working with me. And, you know, we've been working together, locking arms to try to make a difference in the space of diversity. We have a framework called the Equity 3M framework that we've been working with coaching leaders around diversity, and we're making inroads. You know what I mean? And, but with all of that, exciting as it is, and much as we're making a difference, it still perplexes me that he made that stance back in 1968. I was 6 years old. And all these years later, I'm 60 right now, we're still dealing with a lot of the same challenges. You know what I mean? And when I was walking to this location, I saw on the steps of this great location in which we were, it says equity and justice for all. And I was thinking, man, I would love to see more of that. But see, what I do like is there's a lot of people out here who are making commitments. They're committing. They're standing. I'm proud of the corporations and the businesses and the organizations who are doing this because Dr. Smith said it last night. He talked about it being a human being decision. That's what he said. He said, you know what, as much as people want to say it's about a black decision, he said, yeah, no doubt. He said, but it was about a human being difference. And the question becomes, you know, that sometimes people are willing to make the commitment. So some of you might not be out there, because I speak to a lot of you, you know, maybe dealing with, you know, I'm trying to build this diversity initiative. I'm trying to do this. I'm being met with resistance. It seems like everybody, you know what, stay committed. I'm trying to make change here. I'm trying to make change there. I'm trying to accomplish this and that. Not just, again, diversity, but anything. Organizational culture, school culture. I'm trying, but people keep fighting me. Stay committed. Nobody's ever accomplished anything without a struggle. It just comes with the territory. And if you're the kind of person that wants to make real change, you got to be ready for that. You know, one of my mentors, Earl Stafford, said it like this: don't fall in love with the dream, fall in love with the process. And the process is messy. You know, it's wrought with challenges. So when you're trying to say, I want to move, I want to change something, I want to make a difference in the city, or I want to make a difference in the community, or I want to make a difference in the world, don't just look at all the accolades and good stuff that comes when you do it. Be willing to fall in love with that ugly stuff that you're going to have to deal with, the rejection, people talking about you, hating on you, you know, disrespecting you, trying to even vilify you. I've been through all of it, so I know it all. People try to vilify your name for no logical reason. It could be for something they don't agree with, or some form of envy or anything. And so they'll just try to vilify you, man. They'll try to talk. That's okay. You do it anyway. I tell folks I'm still standing today after all of I've been through in my life, because I believe in the dream more than somebody else's frustration. I'll let them deal with their own frustration, and I stay committed to the dream. Because I mean, for me, life is a process. So I'm still in the process. I haven't arrived yet. Still in the process. So that's really good, man. I'm telling you, this book here, you may want to go get this for your kids. I got it for my youngest. And 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 I bought it for a few more people that I know. But I love what this is all about. Victory Stand. I'm not endorsing this like a, again like a and as a sponsor or something. No, I just love what it's all about. And I learned a lot being there last night. I want to thank my wife for inviting me. She always finds the greatest things for the kids and us to learn different things. And I appreciate her commitment to that. And but the reality is sometimes you hear stories and you meet people until you get to know the person and hear the story, you don't know everything behind it. All you see is the outcome. You don't see the effort. So that's all I got for you today. You know, I love doing this work. I love doing these little. I get a lot of comments that people watch these. So I mean, the amount of people that say they watch, I say, wow, I was surprised to see the numbers because you can't really see the numbers on my end. But but I just want to let you know that there's a story within every story. And it's good to be able to do some research to find out when you hear somebody say something, what's the real story behind their story. I learned so much about Dr. Smith last night. I felt like I knew him. He was sitting like right in front of me. Then I had a chance to chat with him a little bit because I really like that whole thing of the human being part he said. And if we just start treating people like human beings, you know what I mean? You got to see people as human beings first. And then you treat them like that, this world can change overnight. Your organizations can change overnight. Literally, communities can change overnight. Cultures can shift in a heartbeat. But if, I don't see people that way, you know, it becomes, why are we talking about this? Or we're all equal, we're all the same. And we're not. We're not all the same. Well, some folks go home to frustration and some people go home to peace because they don't have to deal with frustration type things. You know what I mean? So let's realize that we have to work towards a better world together collectively, but individually, the world that we live in. Let's make a difference there. Talk to y'all later. Daryl Andrews, Coach D. That's my website right there. Any questions, you can inbox me here at LinkedIn. We do coaching, training, and speaking programs all over the world. Have been for 22 years. Love what I do, um, and we're gonna keep making a difference till our time comes to an end. I found my passion in life, and I'm staying with it. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Take